Good morning, everyone. Are you able to see my screen? Uh, I told yesterday to come up with creating test cases, but unfortunately, only one person got time. What happened to others? Too busy? Okay. So, what we do is like first, initially, uh, we discuss with the topic. That means, like, so our next topic is like testing terminology. So, this is what we go first. Then we'll come back to uh, anyway tomorrow. Today nobody sent, only Kishore sent out test cases, so tomorrow few more people will be sending it out, right? So we'll analyze, we'll review those test cases and come up with some improvements. Okay, so see, another request, you're sending messages unnecessarily means the thing is I have to resume. Okay, so then this is nothing but like your uh, testing terminology. So if you will be into manual testing, so which all are the different types of testing you will be following? That is what I'll be discussing in our today's class. So that is nothing but like mostly this is the kind of terminology we'll be using. That is nothing but like tester acceptance testing, then regression testing, retesting, ad hoc testing, monkey testing, gorilla testing. Again, under tester acceptance testing, subtopics will come up with like smoke testing, sanity testing, and then user acceptance testing. Again, under user acceptance testing, subtypes will come across like alpha testing, beta testing, then manual testing, automation testing. Not only these types of testing you will come up with, other testing types we already discussed few, if you remember, functionality testing, performance testing, security testing, user interface testing, unit testing, integration testing, top down testing, bottom up approach, sanitation testing, then compatibility testing, configuration testing, like the so many some testing types we already discussed. Still we have a few more. So but whatever we discussed so far and today's class, those are important testing types. Okay, along with this one, few and real thing is like so many companies, so many projects, they may use their own terminology, so you don't want to bother about that. If you are familiar with these testing types, that is more than enough. So few more testing types we may come across during interview questions discussion. Okay, even that time we'll be covering a few more. Okay, so we'll go ahead with discussing testing terminology. So first testing type is like build acceptance testing. Also you can consider it as like tester acceptance testing. Remember, before that acceptance testing, don't get confused. Build acceptance testing and client acceptance testing. You'll come across like acceptance testing. Finally, you'll come up with another thing, client acceptance testing or user acceptance testing. Acceptance testing, two types: build acceptance testing and user acceptance testing. So, build acceptance testing again divided into two types. Okay, so smoke testing, sanity testing. Okay, so uh, let us suppose you are under release 500. for this release 500 you were planned, like developers, they were planned to develop compose mail and send mail functionalities, let us assume. So according to the release plan, they were developed those two user stories and send it to you for testing. So what is the process for uh, getting build? So developers, as soon as they develop, they send it to deployment team for deploying. Once deployment team successfully deploys the build, send it to you for testing. So then, as soon as you get an email about start testing, initially what you do is you have to test major functionality of the application, like URL, gmail.com, let us suppose. So they pass URL. So that URL you're trying to navigate, but let us suppose that URL itself doesn't work. Then what you do? The URL itself doesn't work means how you carry on your testing activities? It's completely blocked, right? Okay. Another example, if you take, URL is working, but you are trying to enter correct username, correct password, click on sign in button. As soon as installation done, they have to do some configurations. Let us suppose they forgot to do configuration. Then, if that is the case, username and password you are entering, but it's not allowing you to log in. Okay? Without logging into the application, you cannot do anything. You cannot test anything. So, like this, as soon as you get pulled, you will be making sure, or you will be trying to test major functionality of the application. Like if you take Gmail, so inbox, compose mail, login, this kind of major functionality you will be validating. That means like whether that build is good to carry over your testing activities or not, to continue your testing activities, and that is what, to make sure you will be doing build acceptance testing. That is what tester you are doing, right? That's the reason you are considering it as like tester acceptance testing. The idea is very simple. As soon as you get release, in that release, whether you will be good to continue with testing activities or not, to make sure you will be validating major functionality of the application. So that is nothing but like build acceptance testing divided into two subtypes. That is nothing but like smoke testing and sanity testing. Okay, smoke testing, sanity testing. So smoke testing, as I told, as soon as you get application, you'll be testing major functionality of the application. So to make sure whether that build is good to go for testing or not, that is nothing but like smoke testing. Sanity testing also, how you can define it like as soon as you get application, you'll be testing major functionality of the application to make sure whether that application is good to continue with your testing activities or not. But when compared to smoke testing, sanity testing, you will go little bit in depth, more functionality. That is important. Okay, so during smoke testing, if you concentrate 10% of the major functionality, during sanity testing you will go little bit in depth, more functionality. That is nothing but like 20%. So this is nothing but like the build acceptance testing you will consider it as. Okay, so don't get confused. Yesterday we were talking about like sanitation testing. Sanitation testing is nothing but extra features. Okay, so sanity testing is nothing but like one of the build acceptance testing technique, but sanitation is nothing but one functionality testing. That is nothing but like you'll be validating in your application whether you have extra features or not. That is what will be validated. Okay, so this is nothing but like build acceptance testing. Then regression testing, remember, very important into question, very important topic. Even if you go for interview, 100% damn sure question. Another important thing, functionality testing you'll be doing. Functionality testing means regression testing. That means 80% of your job you will be doing regression testing. If you will be into manual testing or automation testing, whatever the testing type it is you are performing, but 80% of your job will be regression testing you will be doing. Okay, so what do you mean by regression testing? So you are getting new build. So what does it mean? Means like for existing build you could have tested. In that build you were reported some issues, so those issues developers could have fixed and made it as a new build. That is one possible case. That's only right. You're getting new build means they don't make unnecessarily new build. So you could have found some issues, developers could have fixed those issues and send it to you for retesting. They're sending it to you new build for retesting. That is nothing but that is one case for getting new build. And another case for existing functionality, they could have made some enhancements. Okay, some enhancements means normally change request you will consider it as. What do you mean by change request? Client has already provided some requirements. For those requirements, okay, today they were following some requirements, but after few days they realized, oh, they have passed some wrong requirements or something like that, some advance or some improvement, something like that, and they may need some changes in that functionality. How they will come up with? In the form of change request. Also that means like enhancement. So for existing functionality they come up with enhancement. In either of the case you will get new build. That's only the reason, right? So you're getting new build means existing functionality change. That means like existing bug fixes or enhancements. So as soon as you get build, what you have to do is like whatever the code changes they made in either of the case like enhancements or bug fixes. So what they are doing? Existing code they are modifying, right? So as soon as you get application you have to make sure the code changes are good or not. You got fever, you go to doctor, he gives some medicines, then fever came down. Okay, the code changes worked fine for enhancements and bug fixes, but you are getting side effects like body pains or something like that. It should not happen, right? Fever came down, headache and body pains you are getting means that doctor is not good. He created new problems. It should not happen, right? So the code changes are good. One point you have to make sure, and another point you have to test the changed code should not impact the other functionality which one working fine earlier before fixing the bugs, right? So in case they have fixed the bugs, the fixed bugs, they fixed the bugs properly. One point you have to make sure, and another point, the fixed bugs, that means like changed code should not impact the other functionality which one working fine earlier. To make sure, in case change request, that means like enhancements, change requests or enhancements. In that case also the enhancement should work fine and existing functionality which are working fine earlier should not impact. To make sure these 2 points, okay, you will pick up the test cases related to bug fixed areas. That is important. Let us suppose for your Gmail application you are having 10,000 test cases. Let us suppose for login related bug they fixed. So in case, let us suppose verify successful login. Yesterday we come up with creating test case 20, right? Even if you want to come up with a few more like 30 also you may come up with. Let us suppose in that one successful login test case got failed. You reported it as a bug. Let us suppose they fixed that bug. Then as soon as you get new build, what you have to make sure? whether they fix that bug or not. That is what logging. You have to make sure. You have to test. And to make sure whatever the code changes they made for login, successful login, should not impact other functions. That means, let us suppose the code impacts means it may impact login related functionality, but it doesn't impact logout or compose related functionality, right? See here, my point is like you created one bug for login. They come up with code changes for login functionality. That means in case the change in code impacting other functionality means it should impact login related only. It doesn't impact compose mail or logout or other modules functionality, right? So that is what you have to make sure means. So to make that means here you don't want to execute 10,000 test cases again. So successful login bug they fixed means you don't want to execute 10,000 test cases. So if you execute what are the test case you have for login functionality, for login you come up with 30 test cases. If you execute those 30 test cases, that is more than enough. That is what here I am trying to say. So to make sure those 2 points, pick up the test cases related to bug fixed areas and execute against latest. So this is nothing but like regression testing. So very simply, you have to define regression testing means how you can define it as like re-executing the test cases again and again is nothing but regression testing. Executing the test cases again and again, so that is nothing but like regression testing. That is your book case knowledge or somewhere some material or Google if you search you will come across. But really you have to define means like this is the whole story you can say. The idea is very simple. You are getting new build. Why? Either for bug fixes or enhancements. So as soon as you get build, whatever the developers they come up with code changes, those one should work properly, and another thing should not impact other functionality. To make sure these two, you'll be coming up with picking up test cases related to bug fixed areas and execute against latest release. So that is nothing but like regression testing. Executing the same test cases again and again by passing multiple sets of data. Let us suppose today one organization is there means daily so many employees will be joining. So today within your organization 100 members join, 100 new employees. As soon as new employees join, what is HR manager's responsibility? So they have to allocate spaces, that means like seating location, then assign laptops or desktops. Okay, then once they assign desktops computers, for those one accounts also needs to be created, right? Like credentials for 100 users. So once they create credentials, before passing those credentials to real users, they have to make sure, that means like they have to test whether those credentials works or not. Let us also, so that means like here successful login test case you have to execute, but by passing different sets of data. Like first employee data, first employee credentials you have to pass first time, second time second employee credentials, third time third employee credentials, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. My point here is like successful login test case is one, but different employees data, different sets of data you are passing. That is nothing but like retesting. There is no confusion in between like regression testing and retesting. So regression testing means whenever you get release, you will be picking up test cases related to bug fixed areas and execute. That is nothing but like regression testing. While performing regression testing, let us suppose you are executing some test case. For that test case, multiple sets of data you are passing and executing. That is nothing but retesting. Retesting is part of regression testing. Regression testing is parent, retesting is part. Okay? So this is nothing but like your retesting. Ad hoc testing. Let us suppose 1 month release you are carrying over. So okay, 1 month release you have. So 1 month means like how you will schedule is like first week it will go for maintenance. Means like Let us suppose for that release what you are going to do for that 1 month duration. So enhancements are something like new user stories or new requirements you'll be analyzing, and you'll be coming up with creating test cases. So developers also will be analyzing and will be taking care one something like this, some analysis kind of stuff go for first week. Then remaining 3 weeks of time you are having. So within the 3 weeks, whatever the test case you have, like 10,000 test cases you are having, those 10,000 test cases needs to be executed. Let us assume. So 10,000 test cases, 20 employees, you have 20 resources. That means like per head, how many test cases you will come across? 500. Those 500 test cases needs to be executed in 3 weeks after. That means like for you, 500 test cases got assigned. Those 500 test cases needs to be executed in 3 weeks after. Okay, so everything going good. 2 weeks going good. Third week came across like Monday. So Monday, whenever you started testing, one critical bug you found. That bug is like impacting whole modules of your application. Like in your Gmail application or whatever application, 10 modules you are having. This bug impacting those 10 modules. That is very critical defect. Means developers should fix it up immediately. They fixed that bug and resend it to your new board. Now my point is like, yes, this bug is impacting your whole application, all modules in your application. So how you will proceed with your test execution? I mean like, what are the test cases left? You continue with those test cases, or yes, this test case is impacting all modules. You have to start up with fresh. That means like 10,000 test cases again you have to execute. How you will go ahead? Normally, at this point of time, yes, this bug is impacting all of your modules. You should test with all 10,000 test cases, right? Okay, you should. There is no other option. Why? Means this bug is impacting all modules. That's why I told. That's what I'm saying. This is critical defect. This defect impacting all modules. That means you should come up with executing those 10,000 test cases. But here my point is, you have to execute 10,000 test cases. 3 weeks of time required for 20 resources. But here you have only 4 days of time. On Monday also gone. That means remaining 4 days only you have. Within these 4 days, how will you execute 10,000 test cases? That means like here you have time constraint. You don't have enough time. These kind of situations you may come across. Okay, so if that is the situation, what you do is like, without referring all the test cases, very high level, you can go for executing. Okay, so that means you are here working for 3 years, let us assume, in this project. So you should be aware of like end to end of that project, right? Then you don't want to go for each and every test case. So very high level test cases you will go for and execute. That means like roughly ad hoc testing you go for at that point of time. Ad hoc testing is nothing but like, without referring test cases, if you perform testing, that is nothing but like ad hoc testing. So time constraints, during time constraints, that means like you don't have enough time means at that time, without referring test cases, you go for testing the application. That is nothing but like ad hoc testing. Okay, so normally this kind of situation may occur. At the time what to do is like, high priority test case you will pick up. If time permits, then only you go for low priority and medium priority test cases. And another thing is like, at this point of situation you may come across, only the thing is you have to do night outs. Okay, you have to work hard and you have to night out. You have to do night out. Okay, so what is the prerequisite to go for ad hoc testing is like, you should be domain knowledge. Otherwise, you cannot go for ad hoc testing. You should be having domain expertise. Then only you go for ad hoc testing. Okay. So this is nothing but like ad hoc testing, monkey testing or big bang testing, or gorilla testing or zigzag testing also will consider like, one item if you give it to monkey, how it will behave? Exactly, uneducated people also may use ATMs. So if once they go for ATM, how they behave? They may do unauthorized keys, unacceptable keys, right? They may keep pressing some keys. At that time, your application should not crash, should not hang on. That is the major intention of your monkey testing or gorilla testing. Okay, so whatever the application it is you are developing for that application, whenever end user passed unauthorized keys, your application should not misbehave. That is the purpose of like your monkey testing or gorilla testing. Another example, if we take word, you have typed 10 pages, instead of control yes, by chance control D or some other key you pressed. At the time, your application should not misbehave. That is the purpose of like your monkey testing or gorilla testing, zigzag testing or big bang testing as we press it. Okay, so once whole application gets ready, then you will go for like user acceptance testing or client acceptance testing in two ways: alpha testing and beta testing. This is what we already aware of. So once whole application gets ready in your company environment, you will be setting up exactly client kind of environment, in which kind of environment is going to execute, and installing whole application and testing. So that ain't nothing but like alpha testing. Once alpha testing done, you go to client environment, there you'll be installing whole application and testing. So that ain't nothing but like beta testing. Okay, that is nothing but beta testing. Then manual testing, so executing the test cases again and executing the test case with the help of human beings. So that is nothing but like manual testing. If you use some tool for executing those test cases, so that is nothing but like automation testing. Okay, so as of now you remember this is the stuff. If you don't understand or you have any questions, means that day I'm starting with your automation. So at the time I'll be explaining. Okay, so this is nothing but like your testing as a terminology you will come across very high level. So anybody having any questions, this is your time. You can ping me messages very well. Okay, you have any questions? No questions? So no questions means thank you so much for your time.